An explosion triggered a real earthquake, and this is a second Hiroshima you've never heard of. In this blob of light, it can completely destroy not only Earth but the whole solar system. In addition, from faraway parts of our planet to the faraway corners of space, get ready to see the most powerful and terrifying explosions ever caught on camera. Accidental detonations are always unexpected and therefore one of the most devastating. Residents of the Mexican city of Tultepec have spent ages producing something without which we can't imagine any big celebration. No, unfortunately, that's not tequila. On December 20, 2016, at the San Pablito market, a young seller left for lunch while the goods for sale lay under the sun. In any other case, they would have just started to rot without causing a catastrophe. But the thing is, for the last 200 years, the people of Tultepec have been living off fireworks production. On that fateful day, around 300 tons of pyrotechnics went up all at once. 40 people died at the site, and more than 80 were injured. The explosion was so massive that it completely leveled the entire market, and it took 2 years to rebuild. Local officials claimed that after that fatal negligence, sellers treated their goods and how they were stored with much greater care, but who can guarantee there will never be another horrible firework tragedy in Tultepec? Residents of Lac Megantic, Canada, didn't break a single safety rule and still were attacked by a fire monster, and that's not a figure of speech. On July 6, 2013, at around 1 a.m., the town suddenly heard a loud blast that sent a giant fireball sweeping through the streets, 3 times larger than the tallest central buildings. Its heat could be felt 2 kilometers away. People jumped from windows, desperately trying to escape, but the monster reached the town's source. Pillars of fire began erupting from storm drains, creating a truly apocalyptic scene. Firefighters managed to approach the disaster site 20 hours later, replacing each other every 15 minutes because of the intense heat and toxic fumes. When they finally defeated the fire, 47 locals were found dead, and the whole city center was practically destroyed. It turned out that a regular freight train was responsible. The lead locomotive had mechanical issues that had been recently fixed, but the maintenance team used epoxy-like material that lacked the required durability. Over 7 months, oil had accumulated in the body of the centrifugal compressor, and on the night of July 6, it overheated. The tank cars were carrying crude oil, and its release and explosion created the giant fireball that disfigured Lac Megantic. A month after the tragedy, the company owning the rail line filed for bankruptcy. Yet sometimes, those responsible for massive accidental explosions don't escape so easily. In 2016, Chinese authorities arrested over 50 Tianjin port executives, accusing them of corruption and power abuse, while the local warehouse chief was sentenced to death. These are the consequences of human negligence that caused a real earthquake. On August 12, 2015, late in the evening, local emergency services received a call about a major fire in one of the port warehouses. Firefighters rushed to the scene, but the fire area was too huge to control. The worst surprise came at 11:30 p.m. when 2 tremendous explosions rocked the port. Every living being within a kilometer died instantly, and the shockwave tore windows and ceilings 6 kilometers away. More than 200 people were killed, and over 12,000 cars were destroyed. China's National Earthquake Network registered the explosions as magnitude 2.5 and 3.0 earthquakes, with energy equivalent to 27 tons of TNT, more than the explosive force of the bomb dropped on Nagasaki. This happened because of containers filled with ammonium nitrate, a fertilizer commonly used in bread production. Investigation revealed that the storage temperature in the warehouse had been tens of degrees over the acceptable limit, leading to their unavoidable detonation. The port of Tianjin was reconstructed in 6 months, but 5 years later, a similar incident occurred in Beirut, Lebanon, where an ammonium nitrate blast triggered a magnitude 3.5 earthquake. It killed at least 210 people, left 300,000 homeless, and led to Lebanon's government resignation. If human carelessness causes such dreadful explosions, what can they do when they intend to blow something up deliberately? Everything. Also, by showing them traces of brutal space attacks, by pure luck one of them was captured by Japanese astronomers in 2021. At first glance, this flash seems incredibly tiny, but don't forget that the diameter of Jupiter is 11 times bigger than that of Earth, meaning that this little thing is nearly the size of our planet. Its temperature reached 8,000 degrees Celsius, which is hotter than the Sun's surface. For a couple of seconds, the flash itself was 300 times brighter than our star. This memorable performance was delivered by an asteroid no more than 30 meters in diameter, a typical Monday on Jupiter. In 2009, astronomers filmed a half-kilometer asteroid crashing into the planet. Nothing special, just an explosion equivalent to 5 billion tons of TNT, that's like 85 Tsar bombers erupting at the same time. After this accident, scientists saw a new black spot the size of the Pacific Ocean that remained there for a very long time. If this asteroid had fallen into our actual Pacific Ocean, we'd have been swept away by megatsunamis. It's about time to thank Jupiter for taking these dangerous space rocks all to itself. Back in 1994, this gas giant already saved us from a real planet killer, comet Shoemaker-Levy 9. Jupiter pulled the comet apart and didn't let it shower us with 22 fragments, with the largest of them being 2 kilometers in diameter, that's 4 times bigger than the asteroid spotted in 2009. Jupiter's atmosphere heated up to 30,000 degrees Celsius near the impact site. Only blue supergiants are known to have a temperature like this, and their radius is greater than the distance that Jupiter covers orbiting the Sun. What's more, the comet exploded with a flash able to challenge the universe's brightest stars. For several months after the collision, long dark blotches could be seen in Jupiter's clouds. They lingered there despite all the active atmospheric currents. Before you start typing your thanks to the brave camera guys for doing such a fantastic job, let's first learn their names. The most powerful explosions on Jupiter were captured by robotic space probes Galileo and Ulysses. But if flashes occurring on this planet can be more blinding than the Sun, what might happen on the Sun itself in case of a space explosion? On July 14, 2000, France was celebrating its main national holiday, Bastille Day. However, apart from bright fireworks, there was also an invisible explosion up in the skies, and it definitely spoiled the festive mood. The thing is, on the holiday's eve, a giant sunspot spewed a cloud of magnetized plasma right towards Earth. When it hit our planet's magnetic field, it triggered a major geomagnetic storm. In turn, this sparked power blackouts across multiple regions of France, leaving citizens unable to check the latest news and at least find out what had happened. Battery-powered receivers didn't help much, as the geomagnetic storm disrupted even radio signals. The number of heart attacks and strokes increased by 90% on that dreadful day. But if I were to pick someone or something that suffered from the solar storm on Bastille Day the most, magnetic disturbance damaged the onboard control system, and scientists didn't notice the catastrophic changes before it was too late. As a result, the costly mission was sent tumbling into orbit. Then, 3 years later, the Sun decided to freak astronomers out again and unleashed a storm right on Halloween's Eve. We still don't know how powerful these solar flares actually were, since the equipment supposed to give us this information stopped at the maximum possible value and broke down. We can roughly imagine the force of the eruptions if we consider how fast magnetized plasma jets traveled from the Sun to Earth. It took them only 19 hours instead of the usual 2 or 3 days. Airports worldwide had to cancel hundreds of flights because of the geomagnetic storm. It also caused a system failure in Scandinavia, leading to widespread blackouts. Flows of charged particles significantly depleted our planet's ozone layer in the polar zones, and its recovery took 8 months. But the worst thing is that during the Halloween storms of 2003, several hospitals reported a sudden rise in child deaths, and no one knows why. Scientists believe that a relatively large explosion on the Sun may be the end of our civilization that depends on electronics so much. However, deep and distant space may throw an apocalypse at us at absolutely any moment. Scientists often detect massive explosions outside our solar system, and they're hardly similar to anything we know. These bursts can only be compared to the Big Bang that let the universe come into being. In 1604, German astronomer Johannes Kepler saw something extraordinary high in the skies. He saw a star in the constellation of Ophiuchus that hadn't been there before and carefully mapped it. Here it is, marked with the letter N. Kepler thought that he got lucky to witness the birth of a new bright star, but pretty soon it faded out. 4 centuries later, the Hubble Space Telescope captured only some peculiar clumps of matter in this part of the sky. The thing is, What Kepler saw wasn't the birth of a star, that was the disastrous death of an old one. When a massive blue giant runs out of fuel, it doesn't only vanish, it explodes with the brightness of billions of suns, visible throughout space. But even though we now know what this phenomenon is, we keep calling these blasts novas and supernovas, just like Kepler did. In truth, people have been noticing interstellar cataclysms even before him, and they didn't even have any telescopes. Scientists assume that this cave painting found in India dates back to 3600 BC and depicts nothing less than a supernova explosion. I'll tell you more, even the Star of Bethlehem could have been a supernova. This means that these space blasts might have influenced humankind's history, and they may also put a stop to it. If a supernova explodes in the Alpha Centauri star system, located 4.2 light-years away from Earth, that will be a splendid light show. In a matter of days, the shockwave will basically reduce our planet to ashes. That's like detonating the world's nuclear warhead stockpile a few hundred times in a row. Luckily for us, there are no dangerous stars ready to become supernovas near Earth so far. And yet scientists occasionally detect such things in other galaxies. Over the last 20 years, Hubble has captured 5 supernova explosions in a galaxy named NGC 5468, which lies 140 million light-years away from Earth. The effects of the blast look impressive even from such amazingly long distances. This bubble is several times larger than the solar system. But aesthetic pleasure is not the main reason why scientists keep filming supernovas. A remarkable explosion occurred on the outskirts of this galaxy, 70 million light-years away from us. A white dwarf had been absorbing a neighboring star's matter until fusion reactions appeared on its surface. The subsequent explosion ejected matter into space at around 18,000 kilometers per second. This is 90,000 times faster than the speed of our jet planes. A flash 5 billion times brighter than the sun struck the universe. That's important because Type 1a supernovas like that always have roughly the same luminosity, which lets astronomers accurately measure distances in outer space and even calculate how fast the universe is expanding. In 2016, scientists first managed to record a unique and exotic consequence of a supernova explosion in the galaxy Centaurus A. This is the so-called light echo, which looks very similar to circles on water. Astronomer Louis Galbini suggests that such waves carry carbon, iron, and heavy elements around space at high speed. And don't forget that we owe our physical existence to these exact substances. But even the influence that supernovas have on the universe seems less profound when you learn about other space explosions. In 1967, U.S. military satellites were closely watching the flares emerging on the planet's surface as a result of Soviet nuclear tests, and quite unexpectedly, they picked up a signal coming from a surprising source, from space. That was a gamma-ray burst, just a couple of pixels on the tape, but they were enough to render astronomers speechless. If Americans had sent someone close to the source to record it, the footage would have revealed a collision of black holes or neutron stars that produce narrow emissions as bright as hundreds of supernovas. Experts witnessed one of the most powerful gamma-ray bursts not so long ago, on October 9, 2022, and even though there are nearly 2.5 billion light-years separating Earth from the explosion site, it affected us anyway. Nitrogen molecules in the upper atmosphere started splitting into ions under the influence of gamma rays. At the same time, critical failures appeared in radio navigation systems. If this deadly ray had hit Earth from inside our galaxy, the outcome would have been pretty devastating. Paleontologists suspect that 450 million years ago, a gamma-ray burst caused the late Ordovician mass extinction that was when, for some unknown reason, more than 85% of living species suddenly died out. Unfortunately, unlike solar storms, there's no way to predict a lethal gamma-ray burst, as it flashes through space at the speed of light. It may be that a frightening blast has already happened, and the consequences are currently on their way. And when they catch up with us, the half of Earth directly facing the blow would turn into one big photofilm showing nothing except our imprinted shadows, like those of Hiroshima. But while we're still alive, scientists are planning to watch one interstellar event live. Betelgeuse, a red supergiant, is about to turn into a supernova soon. By soon, I mean any moment in the next 100,000 years, a blink of an eye by the standards of astronomy. I'm not sure about you, but I would really want a picture of me standing against two suns shining in the background sky. That's exactly the effect Betelgeuse would bring once it becomes a supernova. And if we have to wait for another few thousand years, who knows? Maybe by that time, humans will find a way to send camera operators up there and get footage of space explosions. Would you like to get hired for this job?